Hi, my name's Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's December the 5th, and we've got a very special episode of the live stream today. We're joined once again by our now good friend, Dave from Rainsong. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very good. Let's give him a round of applause.
Woo, yay.
So I thought I'd try something different there. I always do these videos about the guitars and never actually play them, and it's kind of hard to play them in the live stream. So I thought, now I've got my little Tascam recorder, I can just quickly make a little video. So I made that video, and every time I do these videos, I learn something new, as we should as musicians. And whenever I record acoustic guitar, doesn't really matter at a gig. Well, maybe it does. But whenever I record acoustic guitar, I hit the pick on the guitar. I need to stop doing that. So when you watch this back later and you hear those little that's the pick on the guitar. Very, very bad of me to do that, Dave. I must work on my technique.
I won't tell anybody.
It's when you think about it, it's crazy, right? Like, we learn so much, and I always tell people, record yourself, because when you
Yeah.
listen back to yourself, and that's one reason why I do videos and live streams. I watch them back. I don't like watching myself back, but I like to as I make the video, listen back and think, what do I think of the sound of that guitar? I think this, first of all, I think the guitar sounds great, but the technique stuff you only really hear when you listen back to a recording. So that's the tip of the day. I still love this thing. This is a Tascam Porta Capture stereo recorder. Get one and then listen back to your playing. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about the guitar.
I like
So I
that.
said, well, I said to you a while ago, we speak on the phone occasionally, and I said to you, what got me into Rainsong guitars? Well, first of all, our friend here, it's the real Ting. He says, I don't need another Rainsong. I don't need another Rainsong. I don't need another. So he's a fan, but he only recently got one. He's the person that told me about these when I first moved to America. I remember I went looking for them at Sam Ash, and I think they had them at the time. Didn't really play them at the time. I wasn't looking for one, but I think he was referring to the model we're going to talk about today behind me. I think when he told me about them, that was the model you had available, and then that model went away, but you've now brought it back. And I said to you a few months ago, the Smokey was an amazing guitar at the time. It's not made anymore. People still look for them on the used market. It was an amazing price at the time as well. I think I said to you, you guys should bring it back, made maybe somewhere else as like a cheaper model. And you didn't do that. But I think this is even better. You've brought back this model as a tribute to the 1999 version. And because it was released in 1999, right now it's $1999. So it is a more affordable price. It's still made at your factory. And I think in many ways it's better than the Smokey, in my opinion. So what I'd like to do today, Dave, is go through the history of this thing. How did you make the original model? And then why did it go away? And then why did it come back? And then once we've done with that, we'll go over to the chat and take any questions that people want to put in the chat. Do put a Q in front of your question. We'll go through all the questions at the end of our little kind of, I guess it's a presentation for the first half, so we stay on track. Does that sound good? Are you going to give us a history lesson, Dave?
We'll see. I think so.
Before we get started, just say hi to Dr. McFarlane, watching from, I think, Tennessee. Bernard Smith is here. Good to see you. Kevin's here from Southern Indiana. The real Ting, as I said, he recently got a Rainsong, so I'm glad he's here. He can share some of his experiences recently with it. Dennis is here from the Netherlands. We've gone global, Dave. Patsy Smith,
I like it.
Vic G, and Ryan says Rainsong is great, and so is Beep. They also have their own awesome treats. Like the real thing, I love my OM1000 N2. Need to put a K and K in it. Perhaps we'll talk about pickups at the end of this as well.
Yeah.
Rosanna's here. Rosanna is keeping out the trolls from the chat, so thank you, Rosanna. Jim is in Vermont. This is great. And Pooh Ninja is in outer space. So we got the whole world, the whole universe here, Dave. No pressure.
Excellent.
So let's go back.
Mess up.
Let's so first of all, what is the model? It's a WS1000 N1, right? So let's go back to 1999 when this was introduced. Give us a little bit of a history lesson about how and why this guitar was developed and where it kind of came from before that.
Okay. So the original Rainsong guitars, the idea that Dr. Decker came up with was making the guitars out of carbon fiber. Now, they were made very much like traditional wood guitars, just with carbon fiber parts. They had braces and, and all of that. And after a while, when Ashvin started at the company, he started looking at it and realized that, okay, we're using carbon fiber, but we're not really taking advantage of all of the properties of carbon fiber. And he realized we really shouldn't have to be using bracing, and the material's strong enough if we use it properly. And so he started uh, diving into that aspect, and the WS1000 was the first guitar with the projection tuned layering soundboard, which no longer had braces. The back and sides no longer had braces. So the WS1000 was the first modern Rainsong, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. And that set the stage for basically all the models we make now. Um, that's where current Rainsong guitars started. The It first was the WS1000, and then came the DR1000, the JM1000, the OM1000. That turned into the Classic series. Later, we added the Black Ice and the Concert series. Concert series is a unidirectional carbon top, where the WS1000 was the traditional woven carbon fiber. When people think carbon fiber, they usually think of that weave. That's what the Classic series was. So eventually, this is I guess the short version, and you can ask questions if you'd like. Eventually, the Black Ice and Concert series really became the bulk of our sales, and so the Classic series went away for a while when we introduced the SFT Vintage series and Nashville series guitars with the thin spruce soundboard fused to the unidirectional carbon. Those take a little more time to make, and so we started building those, and the Classic series, the Concert Hybrid, and the Hybrid models went away. And it's been gone for a while. And after this is a very condensed version. Well, we can get into it a little deeper, but the N1 neck
This
also
is
went away.
condensed. This is condensed. Just
Well,
kidding. Just kidding.
I was feeling like, okay, is this getting too long, or let's shorten it up?
Well,
Um,
you've made so many models. I get every time you come on here, I kind of have to refresh my mind, and you've been on here several times. I still don't really get it. Like I'm impressed. It's a good thing. Like Rainsong have tried so many different things. I still learn about new models I didn't know about all the time. It's really cool. But I really like this model. I really like the way it looks. I really like the way it sounds, and of course, the big star of the show for this, really, I mean, maybe star is the wrong word, but it's got the N1 neck. And this is a big story we should talk about today, because you got rid of the N1 neck, essentially replaced it with the N2. And I was with you at the NAMM show. That was a great time just before the world shut down. I was with you there, and I heard someone come up to you and say, well, if only it had the N1 neck on there, I'd buy one today. So I hope they've placed their order. But you've brought that back essentially on this model, so a lot of people will be excited about that. We can talk about that later on, because I've been comparing the two, and it's, to me, I kind of like both. I'm still trying to get my head around them to make the video about comparing the necks, but I do like it. It is on the thinner side. It's not too thin. I do like it. I think a lot of people are gonna like it. But the fact that you've brought that back in a guitar which is more affordable is just really exciting. And you haven't cut any corners, have you? There's not like you're using cheaper tuners. You're not using cheaper anything. Everything is still like the ones behind you. You've got all the other models behind you on the wall, on the Rainsong wall, I can see. So I think it's great you brought it back. I was just wondering, like, why did it ever go away? So I guess it's because you've had all those other models coming in.
yeah,
So
exactly. And the Concert series and the Black Ice series is where most people were looking. And then we brought out the Nashville and Vintage series with the more traditional look. And we could only make so many guitars, so we had to weed out a few. And during the whole time when the world stopped, um, we were able to revive the molds. So we brought back the 12 string, and the the mold for the 12 string neck, or the process for the 12 string neck, is the same as for the N1 neck. So it made sense to at least offer that again. And so we started selling some of those, and it wasn't a standard feature on any of the guitars. It was a no cost upgrade or option. So it kind of made sense to offer it, as a specific model. It's good to kind of go back and appreciate what the WS1000 was and what it did for the company. And it really just made sense to do it with that original neck. And the only difference between that original one and the new one is the new one has a more current LR Baggs Stage Pro Element preamp.
Mm.
There were periods where it had a Stage Pro Element before. It's just this is the newest version. So structurally, the guitar is the same. It is a true reissue.
Can I be really geeky? I was looking at some old
Of course.
pictures of it. I was looking at some old pictures today. Is the logo on the headstock slightly different to that original one, or not?
That I don't know.
Slightly different. I mean, just the font or whatever, or the way it's printed or something. But that's being
It's possible.
extremely geeky.
It could be that the decal was changed. Well, and at one point it was actually an abalone inlay, but I don't know about.
Oh,
It
maybe
may
that
have
was
been
it.
that way on the
Yes,
and
yes,
it may have
yes.
been that way on the original WS
Yes.
1000. So
Yes, that's it. That's it. Do I get a prize for spotting that?
you do, yeah. I'll think of something to send you as a prize. I know of something I can send you actually.
I know something that I
I
want.
just have to find a box.
Yeah. And no, everyone, it's not another guitar. The logo on the top, yeah, it was like abalone, and now it's like the white that you have on the other guitars. But as far as
Yeah.
apart from that, everything else is the same. Let me tell you what I like about it. I haven't made my full review yet, but I mean, I love the look of it. I love this. As everyone watches the channel knows, I love the abalone rosettes on any guitar. And the other Rainsongs I've had have not had it, and this one has it with a nice blue. So what are you using? Let's get a little bit technical here and talk about the guitars specifically. What are you using to make that abalone rosette there? And 'cause I really like that, and you don't have that on many of the other models, right? Which other guitars have that?
It's on the concert series in Black Ice.
Okay, obviously not the vintage, but yeah,
Right.
I really like that. And then I also like the shark inlay as well, which is obviously quite a bit of a throwback as well. I've not had that on my Rain songs that I've had either, so that's really I just think it just dresses it up a little bit without going kind of too over the top. I really like those inlays on the abalone rosette.
Yeah, and to a lot of people, that's what a rain song looks like. That's
Mm.
because this, in 1999, that's what started, you know, all of it with that look with the abalone and the sharks. Now, when you order an N1 neck on a concert series or a Black Ice, it has the two sharks at the 12th fret only. Where on a concert series and a Black Ice with an N2 or an NS, it has the full sharks, just like this does.
I see. Yeah, I really like that, and I like the look of the top as well. It's
Hmm.
really, and you can see it behind me. Yes, it is actually glossy. It looks kind of different in real life to that picture. And
Yeah,
it's got
it's a high gloss finish.
the high gloss you see, yeah, and the high gloss is. In fact, isn't this a picture of the original guitar? I can tell by the preamp on the side here.
It could be.
That's not the reissue. That's the actual original guitar we see on the screen there. I think because of the preamp is not the LR, or is it? I might be wrong. I think that's the old Fishman preamp on there. I might be
It
wrong.
could be. I can't tell because the screen is little bit. It's
Yeah,
it probably is the old photograph
yeah.
because
But
we
there's the
we started shipping them as soon as they got done instead of doing a photo shoot.
Yeah, there's the specs on the screen for anyone that wants to see the full specs. Also on the Rainsong website as well. And I see they're selling well because you recently posted a blog post and you had pictures of them going out the door, and there's at least 8 in that picture. So it seems like they're selling well, which is cool. Yeah, but like I said, I really like it. I haven't made the full review yet. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and you'll see when I post that full review. But I really like it, and I think we should just go over these specs and then talk about the neck. So. Woven carbon top, full carbon fiber construction. So not like the Smoky with the kind of hybrid construction.
Right.
This is full carbon fiber. This is all carbon here.
Yep.
The cutaway, the abalone rosette. Yep. The N1 neck profile. The abalone. So it is all abalone then. Shark inlays. That's
Mhm.
cool. 14th frets. 25.4 scale length, 1.75 nut width, the Stage Pro element pickup system. And I'm a big fan of the Anthem, so I'm going to post a video how I upgrade that to the Anthem. It's a pretty easy switch, so I'm going to make that video fairly soon. And
Yeah,
there's
I've
the
talked to a couple
dimensions.
customers that are ordering the guitar, and
Mm,
they talked about the Anthem upgrade, and I said, well, I know of someone that's going to make a video to show you how to do that. So
yeah, it's pretty
that's
simple
coming.
because like I'm no technician with guitars, but it's really easy. You literally unscrew the preamp, you attach the microphone, and then you leave everything else, like the end pin and the undersaddle, you leave as before, and you reuse
Yeah.
those, but you plug them into the hardest thing is plugging it into the right slot on the new preamp, and then you put it back in, screw it back in, and you're good to go. So it's a really easy mod to do. And we should say as well, you were telling me the other day that someone cannot call up and say, I want it with the Anthem or I want it with a different, like an N2 neck. The minute they do that, they're going to have to pay the full price and
Well,
maybe more, right?
the price on the guitar is actually $24.99. We are doing a $500 discount for the welcome back, introductory return of the guitar. But it is actually $24.99 if you say, well, what's the price? Um,
Mm,
so if you want to do options, yes, you can get an N2 neck, you can get an NS neck, you can do the Anthem upgrade and all of that. But if you want to change it, then it goes back to the $24.99, because the $19.99 deal is because we're making a bunch of them and they'll go through and all be the same, and out they'll go.
yeah. So do you know when that will end for anyone that's like on the fence?
I don't know.
Mm,
We haven't really decided that. It's good right now, and anybody that orders them before it ends will get that price, and
okay.
at some point it will go to $24.99, but we
Okay.
don't know when.
Yeah, let's take this moment to talk about that neck then, because this will help me as well for the video I want to make about the neck. I took some measurements. I just got some calipers, which are awesome. I can't believe they have calipers before. I got them just to make these measurements. So I measured this, and correct me if I'm wrong as well. But this is what I took from the measurements. I took the strings off. So the N1 at the first fret, just before the first fret, is 0.78. Okay. The N2 is 0.87. So there is a difference there, and also the N2 is more of a U shape, so it has more shoulder to it as well. So you definitely
Right.
feel that N2 as soon as you pick it up. It fills the hand, which I think we have a whole discussion today about neck shapes, and we won't. But I think that the way it fills my hand, and I've got big hands, is quite nice. But I do like thinner necks in general, especially if I'm doing a long gig. So that's the difference there. As you go up to the 10th fret, the N1 is 0.88 and the N2 is 0.91, so a bit closer. And then the one thing I wanted to ask you today is that I kept measuring the nut width, because on your website you say the N1 is 1.75, which I agree with, but that N2 you also say is 1.75. It kept coming back to me at 1.73. I know that's really a really small difference, but I couldn't get it to say 1.75. So is that slightly under 1.75 on the N2?
I haven't actually put calipers on it, but it's the same nut. So the spec
Ah,
on the nut is 1.75. Um, so
okay. So
that's
the
as
nut,
much as I know about it. Yeah.
if the nut is the same, it must be the same then. Yeah, maybe it's just that the way I measured it, but it's so close anyway. 1.73 against 1.75. But there you go. If you're interested, and the way I would describe the shape is the N2, as you say on your blog, is a U shape, and the N1 is a bit more of kind of like a low profile with like a flat. It's almost got like a bit of a flat back to it as well, so it doesn't feel
Hmm.
quite the same. But I do really like it. If you own a Rainsong in the chat, then let me know what you think of the neck. Are you happy with the neck you have on your guitar? Have you been tempted to get like the N1 if you got the N2 or vice versa? Let me know what you think, because I'm still kind of researching that for my video. But I do really like it because, I gigged the N2 neck for a year. It wasn't a problem, but I like having that slightly smaller neck I know. I find it more comfortable sometimes. So I'm again, I really like that spec of it as well. Let me think of anything that I don't like about the guitar. You know, there's the one thing I don't like about the guitar, and I spoke to you about this the other day as well. It ships in a hard shell case. I think that's really good considering what I read on forums about guitars in gig bags, especially when I post a review of a guitar in a gig bag. Everyone says, "Whoa, the gig bag," and I have to explain every time. Yeah, but there's gig bags and there's gig bags, and there's hard shell cases and hard shell cases. But the thing about the Rainsongs is, like, I'm limited on space here. I don't like hard shell cases, but I have to use them to humidify the wooden guitars. But of course, as we've said before on your videos on here, we don't need to humidify the Rainsong at all. So for that reason, I'd quite like a gig bag with, especially with this
Yeah.
model. I think it'd be really cool if you ship this model with a gig bag. And I've seen those gig bags you used to sell. They look really, really nice. So is there a reason, or is it just that, do you think a bit like the
Um,
necks? Some customers want one, some want the other, and you can't really win on that.
so first, I have to clarify that's not something you don't like about the guitar. That's something you
Uh,
don't like about the case.
the case. The overall experience. All right, I get.
It's, uh,
No,
we actually
let me clarify. Let me clarify. I don't like hard shell cases because I don't have any space. I've even been known in the past to maybe get rid of some, but they take up valuable space in an apartment in the city. But with a wooden guitar, you have to have them because if you don't put them in the case, like right now, I'm sitting in here, I've turned the humidifier off. It's already 25% humidity. So if I don't have the acoustic guitars in the hard shell case, they're going to crack. But I don't have that
yeah.
problem with the Rainsong. And even like going to a gig, I never take hard shell cases to a gig. I mean, to me, that's like another weight to add to the stuff I'm already carrying on the subway. So I always look for gig bags anyway. And I'm pretty fussy about gig bags that I do use. The ones that I love are no longer made. They were made by Meridian. Amazing. But they don't make them anymore. But even for storage, I just like the gig bag. And I thought for you guys, it'd be maybe better because it'd be cheaper to ship them in a gig bag than the hard shell case as well. So what is the thing? What is the kind of official stance on the whole hard shell case thing?
Well, you referenced the gig bag that we used to offer, and that came with the Studio series, which was on its way out when I started 8 years ago, and it's a great guitar, and it was at 1599, and people complained. You know, they said, "Oh, a guitar at this price should have a hard shell case," and you know,
Mm.
our response was, "Well, our guitars don't really need a hard shell case, but if the market is telling us that our guitars, should have a case because of their price point, you know, we basically gave the people what they wanted." Where I think a lot of people that don't like gig bags haven't looked at the current gig bags, because the bags you can get now are fantastic, and they protect just as well, if not better, in some cases. Now, if you're talking about running over it or something like that, well, we don't recommend that for any of your guitars. But and and a wooden case, for the most part, isn't going to protect it from that. Although I have talked to Rainsong customers that have had their guitars run over and they've been fine.
Wow.
Um,
And what kind of car? No. Let me just show a picture of this bag. I just think the bag looks. These bags you used to have as well. I never seen one in person, but I just think
See,
they
now
look.
you're showing people something they can't have.
You can't have it. Well, I think I'm just giving some feedback here. I think you should bring this back as an accessory on the website. I think people would buy. Well, let me ask the chat. Would you prefer a hard shell case or a gig bag? And if they sold these gig bags on the website, would you be interested in buying one? I'll do some live market research. But
There you go.
I just really like this. I think it looks really great. It looks well made. It looks like very practical. Is with all the pockets and everything. I just think it looks great. And I know there was some around. Some of my friends that have Rainsongs bought some a few months ago, and I looked on those sites. They're all gone now. So I know that they are,
Yeah,
desirable. So. That's just my
yeah,
thought, but I get it because I see it in the comments all the time. Like a guitar that's
yeah.
over a certain price point should have a hard showcase. I think I'm trying to put it into the world that I don't agree with that, and I mean,
And I agree with you. I'm in the same
yeah,
camp as you.
okay,
Uh, you know, when I take my guitars out, I take them in a gig bag.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll have a little vote in the chat over there. Okay, so you brought the guitar back. It's the most affordable guitar you offer right now, and
It is.
like
Yeah.
I said, I mean, I really like it. So how does this fit in to the lineup? I always ask you, like, what do these guitars sound like? And it's difficult because we can't always play the Rain songs, and that's one reason I wanted the guitar as well, because it's got the N1. I always wanted to try the N1. I never tried it.
Mhm.
I still haven't tried a Black Ice and some of the other guitars. So if someone's calling you and saying, okay, I'm interested in the guitar, but how does it fit sonically with the other ones? What do you, I mean, look behind you. You've got like what you've got offset sound holes, you've got Black Ice, you've got the vintage. Like this, that how does a customer know which guitar to go for?
Well, sonically, it's very similar to a Black Ice. The Black Ice has the visual, but it's going to sound very much like a classic series, which is what the WS1000 is. The concert series has the unidirectional carbon top, which is a thinner top, and it's going to warm it up slightly. So you're going to get a little brighter tone out of the WS1000, maybe slightly louder, depending on how you're playing it. But it falls right in that all carbon family. And I know this is your first all carbon Rainsong because you have the vintage series and you've had the Smoky and you had a concert hybrid for a while as well. So you've had the opportunity now to kind of compare across the family.
The carbon, the carbon is, you know, I want to say it's brighter, but you ship guitars with Elixir strings, which I think is a great match for these guitars because the guitars are durable, the strings are durable, and I just ordered some more of those strings in the sales. But they are 80/20 Elixirs, which are pretty bright strings. So I want to try some different strings on it. I'm not averse to that. What I did do is I compared it back to back with the vintage guitar, which is exactly the same guitar, but with the fused wood on top. Like you can see behind Dave there, with the wood on top there, the spruce.
Yeah, the back and sides are the same.
That's a pretty big difference because, you know, people talk in general about carbon guitars on the internet, like, oh, they sound like this, they sound like that. But the thing is, they sound completely different. I got to say, like the vintage one, it's a little bit quieter, I think, like a little bit, and it's a little bit mellower. It's not as you know, like the one behind me is like, hey, I'm carbon fiber and I'm going to, you know, hit you in the face, which I really like with instruments. But the one with the wood on top is much more subtle. And I'm not going to say it sounds like, I'm not saying, oh, it sounds like wood or, you know, whatever, but it does sound quite different, even though it's the same body shape. It's really fascinating.
It's kind of like the difference between maple and mahogany.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to talk wood terms.
But
you know,
I feel like the next. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not just saying this because you're on here. I don't know which one I prefer. It's really not. I think it's good you're doing this. You're not just making guitars that are like kind of all the same. In many the ones I play, I'm very divisive over this stuff. Like I sat down the other day to make a video. Which neck do I prefer? I can't. I'm like, they're not that different. It's just one fills the hand, one doesn't. Sometimes certain open chords are nicer when it fills the hand. Sometimes it's nicer when it doesn't up the neck. And it's like that with the two guitars too. I'm like, okay, I tell you what, the vintage series is a bit heavier. I noticed, and maybe that's because of the neck and the truss rod as well. But and the piece of thin spruce on top all adds up, doesn't it? So that's one factor. It's heavier, but the sound is it's mellower. It's a bit softer, but not in a bad way, just in a different way. But I gotta say, I think I am. I don't like to sit on the fence. I think I am preferring, maybe because it's new to me, but I'm preferring this guitar behind me over the vintage ones. And I think you should bear that in mind as well, because I talk about, does adding stuff to a guitar affect the tone? Well, obviously, if you're going to fuse a piece of wood to carbon, you're going to affect the tone, right? Whether you think that's good or not, that's up to you. But
you know exactly that it does change the tone because you can play the two side by side.
It does, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Like I said, if I'm going to have a carbon guitar, I'm at the stage now where I just want to say, hey, I got a carbon guitar and I want as much kind of projection and volume out of it as I can get, because the reason I would take that out is like to play outside in the park or something. I want it to cut through. I don't want it to be subtle and warm like I'm going through a mic and recording. I want it to be like in your. Like I really want to try the jumbos someday. I just want to see what guitar I can get that's just the loudest guitar possible. And I think you're going to get that from an all carbon guitar. You have to, right? Because it's gonna project. We know that. Well, I know that from my testing. So, but yeah, I could try different strings and things like that, which I will do in
And
the
they
future.
do respond, really well to
Yeah.
different strings.
Yeah.
That's one thing about our guitars.
Yeah.
They resonate so much that the different strings are going to bring out different tones.
Yeah, they really do. And I'm really on the fence about Elixir strings. I know a lot of companies ship guitars with them because if you play the guitars in like Guitar Center or something, that they'll last longer, right? That's why a lot of companies use Elixir. So it's a very good idea, I think, to take the strings off and try some other strings. I think everyone should definitely do that. But I also kind of like the idea of elixirs on this guitar because it's just another thing that will last even longer. And I think that's cool. So I'm going to see if I can make it work. But yeah, they are I didn't realize before, I think they are the 80/20 version, right? They're not.
They're the NanoWeb 80/20 light gauge.
So I think, aren't they the brightest strings that you can basically get?
I haven't looked into the rest of what they make, but they are brighter than just a phosphor bronze.
Yeah. Well, again, let us know in the chat, like the real thing. Let us know what strings you're using on your new well, he just got one recently, new to him guitar. All right, let's so that's what I want to cover. I wanted to cover the neck because I think that's a big thing in the community that I've seen over the years. I wanted to talk about the whole case thing because that's something that I go through with every video that I make. And aside from that, I mean, I'm really glad. I hope people can tell that I'm genuinely excited. Like, I'm really glad that you did this because I think the price is more accessible to people. It will get people into the Rainsong thing, get them to try it and experience what it's like. And I also just think it looks really good too. It's not quite as flashy as the Black Ice guitar, but it's more fanciful than the ones I've had before, like with the standard like the white around the sound hole. So it's nice.
Yeah, and there are some people that don't want the fancy, where the Black Ice, they don't necessarily want to look at me with guitar, and that's where the Classic Series is great. But I truly believe that is the best $2,000 guitar on the market right now. I'll put it up against anything. And if you're a gigging musician, or if you play at your church or wherever, to have a guitar that feels and sounds the same every time you pick it up, and you're just not going to get a better American-made guitar in that price point.
I was worried about the neck not having a truss rod, like if I wanted to adjust it slightly, but I haven't felt the need to do that at all. It's very impressive. Like, it's like I use 12s anyway, 12 gauge strings. So I'm just like, I'm like, okay, this is great. I mean, I'm not going to like lay into it really heavy because like on a wood guitar, I might add some relief if I'm going to do that. But it's set up so well that I haven't thought about that, and that was my biggest concern. I think it's impressive how you can do that, how you can set that neck to be in that position. And obviously, it doesn't move. That's exciting because sometimes I'm tweaking my other guitars. Sometimes at the gig, I pulled the wrench out at the gig the other day, recorded a loop, and gave it
and that's something you don't have to worry about with the carbon fiber neck.
Yeah.
In the N2 and the NS, the truss rod is nice for us when we're setting the guitar up, but really most people will never need to and should stay away from it.
It's good.
Guitars,
I always tell people you're gonna save money in the long run. Like if you own anyone will know this that owns a bunch of wooden guitars and doesn't do the work themselves. Like, it's expensive to have your guitar set up, and everyone says to me, "Well, just do it yourself." Okay, I do some of that stuff. I do a lot of that stuff myself. But there's people that don't, and there's people that just want to get a guitar and they can just play it, and they haven't even got. That just takes all that out of the equation. I haven't got to even think about adjusting the truss rod because I can't. I'm just going to take it out. I'm just going to play it, and I think that's a good thing.
All right, and you won't have to. I mean,
and you won't have to. Yeah. So let's go to the chat because I see people are talking and I want to make sure we include everyone. We're about halfway through. So let me see what we're saying over here. I threw a few questions out to the chat as well. So I want to see what people say and we can discuss it. So the real thing, I love the carbon fiber weave on Dave's shirt. Yeah, he's a real professional, Dave is. He's getting into our subconscious with his
Yeah,
shirt.
it's this carbon fiber shirt. It's hard to move, but
Coming next from Rainsong, carbon fiber shirts. Never have to wash them. Okay, question from Poo Ninja. What's your favorite beverage for working on guitars?
probably water. How's that for boring?
Is that true? Okay.
That's what I have right here.
Yeah, me too. But he did say working on guitars.
That's
I mean,
true, but
I guess that's the most sensible thing.
that's what I drink most of the time. So
Rexomatic says hi from Phoenix. Ryan says
Hi, Phoenix.
my friend Katie plays a Rainsong. It's such a wonderful guitar. That's cool. I'd like to know which model it is. Like I said earlier, there's been so many models that it's good to know exactly what the guitar is. Kenneth says hi. Hi, Kenneth. Good to see you.
Hi, Ken.
And Real Ting says my OM1000. So Real Ting's guitar, he bought it used in the UK, is an OM1000 N2. So it's got the N2 neck, and it has the Sharks and Abalone 2. It's the Rainsong look for me. So he likes that look as well.
Yeah, that's
so
the classic series. Yep.
So is that the same as this guitar behind me then, but the OM body and the N2 neck?
And with the N2 neck. Yep.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. It basically got the same series as me now. I call abalone tone oysters. All right.
I like it.
Are they ordered direct? Yeah, so we had Dave
Yes.
on recently. They're now selling directly. So if you want to get one of these, you just give Rainsong a call. There's a website too, but you can call Dave and speak to him about it, and you can order the guitar direct from Rainsong. So how's that going, Dave? Because last time you were on here, we spoke about this whole new thing for you guys with a new website and selling direct. And I see a lot of companies, more and more companies are doing this. How is that working out for you guys? Are you enjoying that?
I am enjoying it. I get to talk to a lot more people
More
this
phone
way.
calls, right?
I actually get to talk to guitar players a lot more, and it's moving along. And as more and more people figure out that that's how it's done, it just keeps going.
Oh, I missed a comment here from Rainsong Guitars. My bad. I think it's because different picture there. It's the neck width at the nut versus the nut width. Let me just get my head around that. The neck width at the nut versus the nut width. I get it. So it's a slight difference, right? But like I said, it's too close to worry about. But yeah, I like that too. I like that you're using that 1 3/4 inch nut. I can't have an opinion about those two necks. Like there's days I like one, there's days I like the other one, but they're not that different. It's not like one is a super shredder neck and one is a big old, like the neck on my authentic Martin gets much bigger up the neck than that does. And then I played a guitar recently with a really thin neck for like electric guitarist and acoustic, and I didn't like that really much at all. It was really thin. So I'm not getting those vibes at all. I'm just getting like slightly thinner, slightly fatter. I'm excited to see what people say actually. Like next time we're on, they've had a chance to play. More people got this guitar and play the different necks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what other people say. Perhaps we've got some stuff in the chat here as well. Real Ting says, I really like the N2 neck, but I generally like big necks. My favorite PRSs have wide, fat, or DGT profiles, and I like my 59 Gibson with the big neck. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. See, and all of my personal Rainsongs are N2s or NSs, and I probably need to get an N1. I finally got to sit down and spend a little bit of time with an N1. You'd think that I get to play them whenever I want, but when we make guitars, we box them up and away they go. So unless we happen to have an N1 kicking around, which now we have our showroom set up, if someone wants to call and make an appointment, they can come in and play. So we do have an N1 neck there. which is why I ended up getting to play one a little bit. And I like it as well, but I don't have very big hands. But the N2 doesn't feel like a huge neck to me. It's comfortable, and you know, I
Yeah, I
I play enough different guitars all the time that I don't get settled into one specific neck.
I think it's good to play a lot of different necks and be able to adjust to them. But I know some people that want all their guitars to just have the same neck on them and will just buy like one brand and have all the same, like, buy all Rainsongs with N2 necks. I know people that have done that as well. My guitars do vary, and I find, is that your cat or my cat?
I think it's mine.
Okay, that's the I was gonna say it doesn't
I'm
sound
in
like
the
our
room
cat.
where the cats are not allowed, and sometimes they want to be back
Yeah,
here.
yeah, me too. And if they do, thank you, Rosanna. Um, what was I saying before? I just got a stupid comment on the phone that
We're
completely threw me
talking
off.
about the people with set on one specific neck and want the same neck on all
Yeah,
their
yeah,
guitars.
yeah, 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 yeah. I get why people stick with one, but like with my gig, it's usually the gigging guitars, like the guitar that I stick with and play like 3 nights a week, I'll really get used to that neck, even if it's a really big neck or a thin neck. I think it's when you, I always say comparison is the thief of joy. It's when you pick up a guitar and you haven't played a neck like that for a long time, and your first thought might be, I don't like this. That can be something that I've definitely had, but I can adapt. To most things. And like I said, neither of these necks, most importantly, are extremes. So
Yeah,
that's the thing to bear in mind. But having said that, they are different, and I'm really glad that you've got the N1 as an option
me
because,
too.
like I said, I got big hands, so I'm pretty sure that N2, if you had small hands, may not work as well because it really does like it's got that U shape. So
Yeah,
and
it's good to
then
have options.
Kenneth brings up interesting point. I saw this on the forums the other day. People were talking about this. He says one of the nicest things about my new WS1000 reissue. So Kenneth has one. Is the
Yeah,
fretboard edge bevel. It's my first Rainsong with this feature. Now I haven't noticed this. So are you doing something different to the bevel on the neck?
we did start, rounding off the edge of the fretboard just a little bit um, a couple years ago, maybe even a few years ago. I think it's actually been more than a couple now that I think about it. It was pre-pandemic, but
I
but
never
yeah,
I
it's
never.
it's not an extreme thing, but we just made it. Yeah, it's more comfortable that way. Just took a
So
little bit of that edge off.
the Smoky that I had would have been before that, right?
Correct.
I never noticed that. One of our friends, mutual friends, was saying on the forums that he got some callousing on his hand, but I never got that. But again, I guess it's going to depend on the shape of your hand and whether it's the N1 or the N2 as well, right? So
And the way you play,
and
and
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. But that's good to know. And Kenneth said that first rain song with this feature. So Kenneth has had other rain songs as well. So that's cool. 25% is too dry even for humans. I know. I just turn it off when I go live, but yeah, that's my whole point. If it goes from like 40 down to 25 just while we're live like this, it's like it's crazy. It's I really struggle with that in the winter, and I really worry about the wooden guitars here. Okay.
yeah, we're fairly lucky here. Although it's getting kind of close to where I might have to turn the humidifier on for a while. It's been so cold here lately, but certainly not for the rain songs.
I use gig bags every time except for my more delicate archtop hollow body guitars. Thomas Moore, gig bag. Patsy Smith, gig bag. Elizabeth Holloway, gig bag. Bernard Smith, gig bag. I win!
You do, yeah. They're way
maybe,
more practical,
maybe.
and for our guitars, they really don't need to be in a hard shell case. But we tried that route, and We were
Well, you can
we were
switch, and
told don't do it.
when they complain, you just say Aaron Short said, "No, I'm just kidding."
I said,
Vic
here's his home number. Call him and let him know how you feel.
Vic G said maybe it should be another option to choose. I agree. I feel like you could have a drop down when you buy the guitar. Sir do that. I know. I think they might have done it recently because Sir shipped their $3,000 custom guitars in getting nice gig
Yeah,
bags. But there is an
yeah.
option on some dealers to add a hard shell case instead for a slight upcharge. That could be a good option. Maybe. I don't know.
Or there are gig bags that cost as much or more than hard shell cases. We
Yes.
could, it's something that we can consider. Take a look at it
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and
like
just
I
see.
said, I thought it'd be nice. I thought it'd be better for you because you're shipping the hard shell case, which probably weighs heavier than the guitar, which is funny.
Yeah.
And then but the gig bag, they just, again, the reason I'm talking about it all the time, they just look really nice. The ones you had before, if you were to bring that exact one back again, it just looks really nice. And I think they should at least be on the website as an accessory so so customers can buy them later on.
Yeah.
And
I'm
then,
guessing those were ordered at least 10 years ago.
okay, they may not exist
So
anymore.
yeah, it may not even
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
same company may not be around. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Lee says a hard shell case, but I only play at home. Don't have to carry it around. Yes, but would you? I agree because you've got. I think Lee's got all wooden guitars, but Lee, would you? If you had a carbon guitar, would you still keep it in the hard shell case? Maybe you would. I guess it does. To be fair, it does protect more in case you drop something on it, like the cat knocks another guitar on it or something. But
Although some of the gig bags now have a lot of protection even against
yeah,
dropping unless a tree fell on it or something,
yeah.
but
Well,
hopefully that wouldn't happen anyway.
my whole thing with that is you can buy $1,000 hard shell cases for guitars. You can buy $10 hard shell cases for guitar. You can buy $10 gig bags for guitars, and you can buy. I mean, some of the mono stuff is like $500, right? So
Yeah.
there's gig bags and there's gig bags. I remember like the one of the first guitars to start doing that was the Acoustasonic, and I'm like, well, the Acoustasonic is clearly a stage guitar, so it makes a lot of sense. But then a lot of them got fret sprout, and that's because it's wood and it's in a gig bag. So they have to, with those guitars, they have to deal with that stuff. But with the carbon stuff, you don't have to worry about that. But anyway, I'll stop going on about my mission to bring back gig bags for Rain. So I think you got the message. Kenneth says I would buy an additional gig bag, but would retain the hard shell case as well. Okay, great. I actually missed the old plastic hard shell case. They were lighter and more protective. So yeah,
Those
you
were
did.
great cases.
You
They
changed them,
just
right?
Well, we didn't. The company that was
Ah,
making them stopped making them. So we tried to order some, and they basically said, "Yeah, we forgot how to make those."
I see.
Okay.
Yeah, they were more of like a molded construction rather than more the more traditional look. Yeah, I remember that. I saw pictures of those. Um, Interesting to hear different perspectives. With me, it's not just about holding humidity for wood guitars, but protection at gigs. I'd never leave a $2,000 guitar in a soft case at any venue. Yeah, a good point. I guess someone could, if you had
Yeah.
it stood up there, someone could knock it. If it's in the hard case, it's going to protect it at all times. Or like, I remember once I got in a cab with a soft case for my mixer, and the cab driver dropped it on the ground. Like he grabbed it before I could even say anything, and he dropped it, and it left a mark in there. So yeah, hard shell cases are always more protective. And if I was flying or had roadies and things, I would always use those. But for me, I always talk about this on the channel. It's just I just take the subway so much, and I need to travel as light as possible. So for me, a Rainsong in a light gig bag, it's just another plus for me. And
Yeah.
knock
You
on
can't
wood,
throw you can't throw a hard shell case over your shoulder or on a
yeah,
backpack kind of thing, and yeah, but they do protect.
knock on wood, I've not had a guitar get damaged in my Meridian gig bag over the last 12 years. Knock on wood. Yeah, tune in tomorrow when they tell you about what happened last.
Yeah.
All right. Real Ting said, I noticed most of the guys who insist on hard shell cases are weekend warriors or bedroom guitarists. Most of them working or touring musicians I know go gig bag or flight case, not the in between. That's interesting, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then you have the people that have gig bags, and then they have a flight case that they put their gig bag in. So most of the time they can use the gig bag, but if they're doing a fly gig or a tour, they throw the gig bag in the flight case, and they're all set.
Poo Ninja says, I prefer the option. Yeah. When you're purchasing. Yeah. And as a bedroom guitarist, I have way too many hard shell cases. That's how I feel. You got to store them. If I gig, I'll bring a
Yes.
soft case.
Trust me, cases take up a lot of room. I know this, as does my wife.
That's the thing. If you are going to hang all those guitars on the wall like you have, then your cases are basically just taking up space, right? And the soft cases are going to condense down more. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's the end of that conversation. Thomas Moore says, what is the exact model that's 1999? Let's just clarify that.
It is the WS1000 1999 reissue.
So I'm just going to bring it up on the screen again. So go to rainsong.com.
So if you go to our website, you won't find the classic series, which is what the WS1000 fits into, but you will find that particular model. And should you decide you like that look, that and everything, but you want a dreadnought or a jumbo or an OM, contact me and we can find a way to make that happen. But you won't find it on the website.
Go to special editions. No. Yes? No. Go to...
Should be there. The limited.
That was smooth. There it is. There it is. There it is.
Right there. The original 1990 classic piece.
I got thrown off by the other ones on there.
Yeah, you started looking around going, ooh.
So there we go. Yeah. So it's this model, no modifications. That's it. 1999, because that's the year it was released. So that will go away. My advice, if you're looking for a Rainsong, is to get one of these, because I've got one and I really like it. And last year I did buy that the one I had, the last time on the channel I had the guitar, don't have it anymore, the hybrid that I got, which was this body shape. It was more than that, and a lot of used Rainsongs that I saw the last few months are more than this used. So this is great. Yeah. The fact that you can get a brand new Rainsong with this spec, I think you'd be silly if you're on the fence not to get this. And then it'll be interesting to see if this does bring more people into the Rainsong kind of family, won't it? It's interesting to me if someone's going to buy a vintage style Rainsong and then one like this and then the full-on black ice with the offset sound. If people kind of work their way up like that, I think it'd be interesting to see next time we do a live stream if that's happened to anyone. But yeah, this is the spec of this I love. The only thing I would change is I'd put the Anthem in it, which I said you can do. And as I always say, I would like to have stainless steel frets. I still haven't done that on a Rainsong, but I think Dave tells me sometimes that he knows people that could do that if you ever wanted to put stainless steel frets in a guitar, right? I still haven't tried that yet.
Now, it's not something we do, but I've talked to customers that have either done it or had it done. They're happy with it. And I can certainly help you find somebody that can do it. But it's not something we offer.
Yeah. So, where did I leave off here? Okay. Thomas Moore, I take all my electrics in a gig bag except my Les Paul. Martin's in a case. Here we go. Here's a good question. Would you ever put a sound port on a Rainsong?
I have talked to several people that have older Rainsongs where the electronics have passed their useful age. They don't work anymore, and they have taken them out and said it sounds great as a sound port, just having that hole right there. They've put something different in that they don't need the preamp, and so I've thought about trying that. I want to try it too, but that's a big sample.
I could use it as a tip jar as well. Just put your tips in.
I think sound ports are great. They work really well. So
I like them, but I think that is cool, and I want to try that myself. But I think what he's saying is you've got the offset. We can see the guitar right above your head, and the green one. You've got the sound hole, which is nearer to the player. But have you ever experimented with actually putting a dedicated sound port in the guitar? I think that's what
Not
he's
that I
saying.
know of. Um,
Mm,
I've thought about messing with one of mine and taking the preamp out, because that essentially gives you one. And
mm.
so at some point I will do that, and then I can give you an answer today.
Okay. I think the offsets. Again, I haven't played the offset guitars, but the offset sound hole is kind of doing that, isn't it? Isn't that basically a sound port, really? The way it's
Kind of, yeah.
positioned to the player. Yeah, and you've told me that
Yeah.
they sound really good in the past. So I think if you're looking for
Yeah.
something like that, you should check out the ones with the offset sound hole.
To me, from the player's standpoint, those are our best sounding guitars. It's just something in the combination of moving the sound hole closer and to giving you a larger soundboard. It worked really well.
Real Ting says, I'm not bashing bedroom guitarists, but if those guitars are only ever in their case in one room, why do they need a hard shell case? I think you hit the nail on the head, Dave, when you said people perceive the value of the hard shell case. But
Hmm.
it just frustrates me because I'm just like, you're talking about a gig bag like it's a piece of paper, like $5 gig bag. That's not.
Right, and that's
We
what they
we
were when the gig bags
yeah
first came
yeah
out. They were,
yeah
like, here, I'm going to wrap this guitar in a blanket and put a handle on it.
yeah
That's not very much protection.
yeah.
But
Or
there
even
are some
a
very
garbage
good
bag.
gig bags now.
Yeah,
If
even like
the company that makes our cases makes very nice, high quality gig bags.
okay. Yeah, I've seen even thinner ones. Like some of the guitars that are on like Amazon, they have really almost like it's nothing, like a paper bag or something. So I think
Yeah,
they're thinking of that. They're not thinking about we need more names for these things. We need like more descriptive names than just hard shell. I've seen some really bad hard shell cases as well.
yeah,
They don't really help at all. I don't know. I think that would change over time because more companies are using gig bags now. We see it more and more.
yeah.
Um, and obviously a lot of that is to do with cost as well. Because if they're shipping loads of guitars in hard shell cases, that's adding to the weight, right? And shipping costs have gone up, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great point as far as the shipping thing goes.
Lee said again, I'm precious about my Martins, but not too bothered about lower end guitars. The Yamaha could go in the gig bag. But Lee, I don't want, I hate saying this because it's going to be, I'm going to jinx myself. But I've taken very nice, very delicate wooden guitars in gig bags around the city, and I've not had anything. I agree, it's more likely to happen than in a hard shell case, but I've not had anything happen over the years. That's just my experience. But of course, now I've said that, I must stay in this week. Um, Good point from Real Team. Gibson's with a tilted headstock need the protection of a hard case. Yes, depends on the guitar as
That's a
well.
very good point. Yeah,
But that's why I got on this whole conversation. The point about the Rainsong not needing so much protection because
yeah,
they're so durable. Yeah,
yeah. Our guitars do not need to be in a hard shell case. However,
yeah,
that's the market expectation,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's how we do it.
Real Ting says, I currently have standard Elixir phosphor bronzes on my Rainsong, not the 8020. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because I haven't done a comparison lately of the phosphor bronze versus the 8020s. I should do that. But everyone tells me the 8020s are brighter. So I'm a little bit surprised that you use those and not the phosphor bronze. But I don't know. Perhaps I'll do that comparison as well. Perhaps I'll compare the two in a future video. That could be a good video.
Yeah,
See, Thomas Moore bought a Hiscox case, and they're really
those are,
expensive.
and
Yeah,
they're great cases.
yeah. Vic G says the neck is a make or break it deal item on guitars. Looking forward to hearing about the Rainsong necks. Yeah, I saw Phil McKnight did a video the other day, a clip on his Instagram, saying that the most important thing to him on the guitar is the neck. I kind of agree with that, but not completely, because I do feel, like I said earlier, funny thing with me is when I started off with acoustic guitars, I was very much like, I know what I like and I don't want anything else. I am more like I said, I am more flexible now, probably because I've played more guitars. To me,
That's the key, I think.
I think to me it's more about I think the tone. To me, the tone is the most important, and the neck is the next most important thing. And if it's really thin or really big, then yes, that could be a deal breaker for me. Like I said, with these Rainsong necks, I don't think they're really they're still kind of in the middle, just on different edges of the middle.
Yeah,
They're not super thin and not super fat. You did make a super thin neck at one time, right? You told me
yeah. The
before.
advanced series guitars had a very thin neck.
Right. Thomas says, I need to do more research, but really like the idea of carbon fiber. Martins are a bit too finicky. So what you want to do, Thomas, is I think this is like our fourth live stream now. So you can get yourself some popcorn, maybe something stronger, and you can watch all our videos about the live streams. We've gone through the history of the company. We've talked about the vintage series. We've now talked about this one. So you can learn a lot from them and then go through the website. And then I think the best thing is to call Dave and speak to him on the phone and tell him what you like and discuss all the options. But yeah, I agree. It's I'm really torn these days between analog and digital and carbon and wood. I don't know what it is, if it's my age or whatever, but I like with amplifiers. I still like the tube amp, but the digital stuff is so much more convenient. And you can say that with carbon fiber. The carbon fiber is more convenient. There's no two ways around it. A wooden guitar, we like them because they're wood and they're living, breathing things. We have to feed and water them basically, depending on where you live, some more than others. But that is also an expense, and I mean, I'm okay with it, but right now I'm filling humidifiers every night, and I don't mind doing it because it's good for my voice as well. I sing, right? But
Yeah.
you got to keep on that every single night. I buy those Boveda packs, and people tell me I'll just, stick them in a humidifier. Don't keep buying new ones. But I do buy new ones. They're expensive every time. That if you want to have some work done on it at the luthier, that's another. People say, "Well, just do it yourself." Everyone has an answer for everything these days. But I definitely do spend money on those things, and there's something you haven't got to worry about. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think a lot of people watching today probably maybe haven't played a carbon guitar, or they have wood guitars, because I've done a lot of videos on wooden guitars. But I think it's a great idea to have a carbon guitar, if for no other reason than just to leave it out like this one is, because you haven't got to
Yeah.
worry about it. It's not going to
You'll
crack
play
ever.
it more.
You'll play it more, yeah.
And if you're a working musician, it's great to have a guitar that feels and sounds the same every time you pick it up. When you
Mm.
show up at a gig, it feels and sounds the same. Imagine if you were a mechanic and you go to get a wrench out of your tool drawer and it's hot this time, so that quarter-inch socket doesn't fit.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
okay, well,
good analogy. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
to have a consistent tool that's going to sound great and feel great every time.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing you have when you're showing up for a gig.
I think as well, I think over time you might even like it more as well, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I've heard other companies say that about guitars that don't sound maybe traditional. That's the right word. Your ear will adjust. Like, there's some things now I really like. I just like the projection and the volume, and some that might actually make you think that some of your other guitars are not maybe as loud or don't project as well. That can happen too. That happened to me with some other brands too, where that's the problem with forums, right? You read forums, but you think, oh, I want to get one of these guitars. And you go on a forum and you type it in, and you read other people's opinions, and they'll say something like, oh, well, I played one and it was just really, it just sounded bright, and I prefer wood. So that goes into your mind. But the fact is, you need to, like, with any piece of gear, you need to spend time with it. Like I said before, try different strings, and I think our ears adjust too. So, like, I really honestly like now, like, the guitars I reach now a lot of the time are the Rainsong, because it's out, and I still use the Cole Clark a lot for my gigs because it's got 3 pickups in it, and I really like that guitar. But I have kind of, my mindset has adjusted, but it is definitely a mindset thing, and I think people should try them, because the thing now is people can't really get their hands on them in the stores if you're selling direct. So I think that's why they should watch as many videos as they can and give you a call. It's good that you're doing that, because I think people need to hear them. And you've got all the models there behind you as well. There is quite a selection. But no, I definitely think everyone should at least try one. And I think you'll like it. Like I said, even if it's just something you can have out all year round and travel with and do things like that, that's such a nice thing. Leave it in the car overnight. That's a really nice thing.
Yeah, well, having it sitting out on a stand you definitely will play it more because you're not going to have to go dig it out.
Yeah, that's the biggest barrier for me is having to get the guitar. Another reason I don't like, I know this has become the hard shell case episode, but on a serious note, if you've got to dig through a pile of them to get get a guitar out, you're not going to do it. You're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, you see, Poo Ninja said, I treat one guitar per year to a full setup with a skilled luthier, $100. It's so worth it. I agree. I can do stuff myself, but there's sometimes I do want to take it to a luthier, and that's getting more and more expensive as well. And if you could, I'm not, it sounds like I'm just trying to like make excuses up, but you've got to factor all this stuff in. Like, especially maybe you want to learn guitar now. If you have a guitar that kind of stays in tune better, you leave out all the time and doesn't need to be taken for a setup, I think that's a good thing, because it's just one less reason to not, it's one less reason to not play the guitar, right? You're going to play it because it's good to go. So I think that's a great reason as well. Hi, Dave. How you doing? Dave Belcher. Good to see you here. And it always never ceases to amaze me. We get some really interesting comments that I never even think about when we do these live streams. Real Ting is talking about you can buy elixirs, and there's a lot of fake strings on the internet if you're not careful where you buy them from. So
I hadn't heard of that.
Yeah, I've heard of that. So again, like I have my links down below to Sweetwater. So buy from somewhere like that, because sometimes I just bought. It's not fake, but I just bought some of my deodorant that I like to use from Amazon, and it says do not ship out of this. I can't think what country it's made in, but it says do not ship out of that country. I'm like, well, they shipped it to me. I mean, it's fine. But I'm just saying, you always buy things like strings and stuff from a reputable place. I've heard a lot of stories about fake guitar strings. It's kind of crazy. They're talking about the setup of his guitar. Then Pooh's talking about cats. I didn't know we both had cats. I forgot that. Still talking about the necks here. I like big necks in general. I have smaller hands. I just find them more comfortable to play for long periods. I do own guitars with slimmer necks, which is fine as long as not too shredder thin. It's a really personal. The whole neck thing is really personal, and I think I'm going to say in my comparison video, basically, if you know you like necks on the smaller side, get the N1. If you know you like necks on the bigger side, get the N2. If you're not sure and you've got smaller hands, get the N1. If you're not sure and you've got bigger hands, maybe get the N2. But for me, I think if I had to choose one, I think I would choose the N1. But ask me again in 12 months, I may change my mind.
Well, what I have heard, over and over from different customers is they'll say, I read somewhere that this N2 neck is really big, but when I actually played it, it's not really big. It's bigger than some, but it is not, a giant beefy neck. It's
not big. It fills the hand. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a U shape. It fills the hand, which can be nice, because when you think about it with a guitar neck, don't you, like in the old days when they made them, didn't they make them like that because it would fill the hand? Doesn't that make sense? And now we want these
in general,
necks.
it's less fatiguing.
Yeah.
If the neck fills your hand, you don't get as much fatigue from playing for a long time.
Yeah. But having said that, if you play up the neck and you do a lot of looping and you play lead, it can be nicer to have less stuff in the way when you're doing that kind of thing. So I get the case for both, but in general, I would go on the thinner side, and I don't know why that is, but if I had to choose today, I would choose the N1. It'll be really interesting if we talk again in a year's time if I still prefer the N1. I think I will, but again, that's why I love the YouTube channel, because we can have, we can say next time we can discuss it. And
well, the beautiful thing is you can get either one.
Yes. John has the comment of the day. I like big necks, and I will not lie.
As soon as that other comment came up with I like big necks, that's exactly what went through my head. So, yay, John.
I know, and I also know that making that video comparing guitar necks is opening myself up to a ton of trolls as well. But I'm going to do it anyway because I don't care. All right, Thomas.
Be informative.
Hey, that's the nature of the internet. Thomas Moore, can you set these out during the winter and not have to worry about what the heat does to it? Okay,
yes.
So what is the temperature where it would affect it? There must be something.
Yeah, I'm sure if you get the thing, 120 degrees or 130 degrees, it's wouldn't recommend that. But if you're comfy in that weather, your guitar is probably going to be fine. But they just don't care about temperature extremes. It doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
They
If
don't play any
you
differently. They don't sound different. It's
it yeah, no one has ever left the carbon fiber guitar out and had something happen to it in our knowledge, right? Like from temperature changes. Or maybe
some of the
maybe you've had a story then.
well, some of the earlier models couldn't go as high on the extreme.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, in anything we're making now, and have been for a long time, it's I've left mine in my black car in 90 to 100-degree weather, and it didn't even go out of tune.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes I do things like that just to see what's going to happen with it, but so far nothing has, and you know, I the low temperatures are not a thing at all. They doesn't affect them.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I've told many times on here about my horror story. I've had wood guitars crack, split. I would never leave a guitar in the car. I'd always bring it in. When I bring them in, I try to put them in cases with humidifiers. And if I'm got, yeah, I've told stories. I'm sure we've all got stories in the chat about that happening. And if you're new to guitar and you haven't got those stories, then be aware of those things, and also the fact that
Yeah,
you've got to look after them. It's now gone to 23 in here now, 23% humidity. It's just way too low. It's
wow, yeah,
okay. It's okay. Like I've got a wood guitar over there. It's not just gonna break on me while we're doing it. Well, hopefully while we're doing the live stream, it happens over
yeah,
time. But the worst thing is those extreme changes. Even when you go to a gig, and to be fair with our people that like the hard shell cases, they will, if it's a good one, it will keep the temperature more regular for a wooden guitar as well. Because to be
yeah,
fair, even walking into like imagine you walk into a bar or a pub and they've got an open fire, and you put the guitar next to it, and you've come in from the snow, and you pull it out of the soft case, that could crack the guitar. That sudden shift in temperature. So that wouldn't happen with a carbon guitar. It
it would
wouldn't
not.
care about the change.
I talked to a customer one time at a NAM show, and he just said, "Hey, I have to tell you this. I live in Minnesota, and I go to gig, and I'll take my guitar from the trunk of my car at 20 below zero and go in and walk up on a stage under hot lights, and the guitar doesn't change. And
Mm,
you can't get a
yeah,
better gigging guitar, you know.
yeah. Consistency is important. Um, and then you'll get people that say they like when it does change because it's they have to fight it a bit, stuff like that. But yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah.
depends
It's
what
so
you.
much fun when your guitar becomes unplayable. Ooh,
Who was it years ago? I said to someone about I like strobe tuners. They're really accurate, and he said I don't like using any kind of tuner. I like to tune myself and be slightly out. It's more real. We all have our thing, I suppose. But if you like
yeah.
consistency, let's say that if you like consistency and being in tune, then a clip-on Peterson strobe tuner on a carbon guitar is going to give you that very reliable consistency. So
How
that's how I
about
would say.
I like the inconsistency to come from me, not my instrument.
Yeah. Maybe because you can't blame. Oh, I didn't sound good
Except,
tonight because it was the humidity changed the tuning.
yeah, there you go. Nope, that terrible note was all me. Sorry.
Lee says I definitely find thin necks more comfortable. I also like a narrow nut. Interesting. A lot of people do not like the narrow nuts anymore. I don't really notice the narrow nut that much, but
That is the one thing that I don't get along with. I
mm,
have a guitar that is it has become my wife's guitar because when I pick that one up, certain chords just I go to grab it and it just like oh yeah, that's this guitar. It's not a rain song, so it's
Kenneth says his 10-year-old Shorty has a sharp edge on the neck. See, I never noticed that. I want to ask Real Ting because Real Ting has an older guitar. Do you notice that the fretboard edge isn't like bevel, like rolled over on your guitar, Real Ting? Let us know. Um, I never noticed that, but hey, that's. I'm glad that you're doing that now. That's a good thing.
I need to do a side by side comparison because I have a
You've
shorty
got, oh yeah, you've got one,
like
yeah.
Ken has, and then I have my vintage OM that will have that. So one of these days, I just need to pick them up side by side. And,
Um, I never, I didn't notice that at all on that Smoky, but then, like I said, I got big hands, so maybe the way I hold the guitar, I didn't notice it. Ryan says, "What's the process with changing frets on a Rainsong? Does the heat to take off the frets hurt the fretboard? Can you tell us a bit about
no,
that?"
it doesn't. It's the same process. If you can do it just like you would on a wood guitar.
Some have told me it's easier because it's not going to splinter like a wood guitar would. But then
Yeah.
when I wanted someone to do it for me once, he wouldn't do it because he hadn't done it before. So it's like, you know, I get it. But I'm sure
Yeah.
you just got to find someone that's done it before, willing to do it, and I'm sure it's no problem.
Well, so far, every time somebody calls to ask me about that, I tell them it's the same process. If you want to have your tech call me, do it. And when I've talked
Yes,
to techs, I say, if there's an issue, call me back. And after we talk, I don't hear back from them. So
I
once they get
think
that reassurance that it's going to be okay, they go in and do it, and it's fine.
I think if I was going to do it, I might consider. I always talk about Sweetwater, but Sweetwater have a Plek machine. So I think if Sweetwater would do it with stainless frets and then Plek it, that would be really cool to have it go through the Plek machine as well. So I don't know. I might try them, but yeah, always have them call Dave because then he can answer any questions. And he loves taking phone calls, right, Dave? I'll give you some more phone calls.
I do like to talk to people.
John said, I have several guitars and none of them have the same neck. The one I enjoy the least is my gigging guitar. Interesting. Hard shell cases probably support higher resale. Yeah, a lot of people now think about like what's the resale value of an instrument. I guess well, I don't know, maybe not to me, but again, to some people, yeah, maybe.
But see,
Doctor
I think
says
that's that
gig bag.
same kind of market response as we discovered when you're selling the guitar right out of the gate and say it comes with a hard shell case. That sounds like more than it comes with a gig bag, and that's I think just the stereotyping of the gig bag.
So Kenneth really likes the bevel on the WS1000 and says he has a WS3000. There's somewhere in between. Maybe you've worn it down over the 10 years, Kenneth. Oh yeah, why didn't we think of this? Carbon fiber case.
Oh, they make them. They're out there.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Well, true, but when you think about it, the case you ship now is wooden, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic.
Yeah, I know people that have carbon fiber cello cases, and the
Yeah.
cases are in the range of, some fairly nice guitars
Wow.
just for the case. But
Real Ting says, I've seen videos of people refretting Rainsongs. Frets come out cleanly. That's good to know. And he says he agrees with me. It'd be worth Rainsong offering stainless steel frets as an option. Makes them ultimate durable. That is the one thing that I would love to see in the future. But I also understand that it's going to be. I guess it adds to the cost. That adds to the time to make the guitar, right? When you have to deal with that.
it does, and tool cost, and also I've heard from more people that stainless steel frets are bright, and if the idea is that our guitars are already brighter than some others, would we want to make it even more bright?
Interesting. Yeah, something to think about. Staley says, "Yay, Rainsong." I think Staley is near you guys. Staley should go and do one of his videos there.
So I'd say, yay, Staley.
Here we go. I remember talking to Dingwall bassers about how they ship their basses in gig bags now because they're more likely to incur shipping damage in a hard shell case. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't even think about that. Rosanna, I feel hard shell cases are better for keeping in humidity for wooden guitars. With a carbon fiber, I would choose a gig bag. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Same here.
And Lee says, in the summer I play in the garden. I think I should get a carbon guitar as I'm nervous of the huge temperature change as it gets dark. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Perfect for that. If you go on like trips or even traveling, like even if you go on a cruise or something, ideal thing to have. But I don't like saying that. I don't make it sound like I'm saying get a carbon guitar just because you can take it to the ski resort. I think people should experience them as, and should treat them as instruments as well. So,
And I think what a lot of people find is they get the guitar, they get a Rainsong for their guitar that they take out, and that becomes the guitar they play all the time. They get a Rainsong because they don't want to take their Martin or Taylor out, and their Martin or Taylor ends up living in the case, and the Rainsong becomes their number one guitar.
yeah, and then you gel with it more because it's like me, like the neck on my Cole Clark isn't my favorite, but because I'm using it for a lot of my gigs because of the way the pickup system works, I've kind of bonded with it, and that is what happens. Like you might have a vintage Gibson that you just adore, but you're so afraid of playing it that you never really bond with it. So the practical, I think it's good to have everything. I think it's good to have that collectible old vintage guitar. And then you have the carbon guitar that you use like in all weathers, and then you might have like a hybrid guitar with a humbucker on it or something like that. Have that range of stuff and for different reasons. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. The guitar you play the most, it's like they say with iPhones, right? It's the best camera because you always have it with you. That's why it's the best camera. It's like if the guitar is always on the wall, you're always gonna pick that one up and you're going to bond with it over the time. So I definitely agree with that. Andrew said, that's a great point. That's why I love so Helix is a digital, sort of amp replacement. So same thing. It sounds the same every time. I never found that with a tube amp. Some people say a tube amp sounds different when you plug it into different outlets and things and in different temperatures and things. I don't play tube amps that often at gigs, but I didn't, I never noticed that, but it's a great comparison. I think with wood guitars even more, because you can get to a gig and a wooden guitar is completely shifted, and that can be a problem. I have a friend. I have a friend who will a gig bag come over his shoulder in a sack. I loaned him a hard shell case. Oh, okay, gave it his daughter. Yeah, I sometimes see people walking down the street with their guitars. Not usually in the winter though, but
yeah.
Scott Martin says, so Scott Martin has several Rainsongs now. Just got home from today's gig. I'm only playing Rainsong guitars right now. There you go. Super fan. I'm looking for the super fan noise.
He's got nice ones too.
I'm looking for here we go.
Got a couple fancy ones.
Give him one of these. Yeah, no, I've seen his journey. Actually, Scott is the person that sold me one of his Cole Clarks. So he got me into them, and then I guess he would have seen my videos on the vintage. I don't know if that's why he got a Rainsong, but at the same time I was making the videos on the vintage Rainsong, and then he got one, and he got more. So as such as is the way it goes. But he's gigging them now, and I think he's using the Element pickup. So I'd like to talk to him about that and see what he thinks about that. If he's got interest in going to the Anthem. The Anthem isn't a complete upgrade, by the way. You do lose a little bit of level, like output gain, because when they add that mic to the circuit, it eats into the output gain. I've never ever found that to be a problem though. You just simply turn up the gain on the thing you're plugging into. But there was one amp that I owned that didn't have. It was like more of like a. It wasn't like a pro level amp, let's just say, and that could have benefited from more input gain from the pickup. So there was one occasion, but in every other thing I've ever tried, most pro gear has some kind of gain control, and you just turn that up and it compensates. But that is something to bear in mind if you do own an amp that does lack some input gain, and you're completely against using like some kind of mixer or something, then bear that in mind that I think you lose about 8 dB. In volume, so
it's pretty significant, but I haven't run into any problems with it.
Yeah, but it's just I want to tell. I just said earlier about switching it out for the Anthem. Just bear that in mind before you buy that upgrade and do that upgrade. It will effect. So if you're happy with how it is now, I would just leave it. You get the mid control as well. You lose that. So if you're happy with how it is now, I wouldn't. That's why the word upgrade, I don't like using that word really, upgrade. I mean, to some people, that's
I,
not an upgrade, right?
but
I
it
get
is
it.
though in most senses, because you do get way more control over how the thing sounds, and to be able to blend the mic and the under saddle pickup, it's, to me,
Yeah.
it's absolutely worth it. I
I think
really
it's an
like the way the
upgrade.
anthem sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's an upgrade sonically, but there's a couple of reasons why some people might not um, want to do it. And that's fine because you haven't
Yeah.
got to do it. You can stick with the one you have.
Yep.
So Vic says, question, between the N1 and N2, which is closest to Martin's low oval neck? Well, I can tell you because I took that measurement as well. Or whatever I know I took the measurements of the modified low oval. It's 0.82 to 0.91. So here's the interesting thing, because I would say this neck is a very in the middle. It's their standard neck, right? So it's a very kind of in the middle neck. And the interesting thing with this neck is it's the same thickness at the 10th fret as the N2.
That's
I
interesting.
think that's really interesting. Yeah, if my calipers were working correctly, I took several measurements to make sure I was correct. But then at the first fret, it's 0.78. So we got 0.78 versus 8.7 on the N2 and 8.2. No, sorry. No, sorry. 0.78 is the M1. 0.82 on the modified low oval neck. So slightly bigger than the N1. So the N1 is definitely on the thinner side. All right.
Yeah. So the Martin falls right in between the
In between,
N1
and
and the N2.
it's more rounded. So actually, that's a good tip. If you can't get your hands on these guitars and you want to kind of get something to compare it to, I'll probably include that in my video that I do as well. So you could go to like a guitar center, pick up that guitar and actually play it and think, how does this feel? But bear that in mind. That doesn't make it that easy for me because the N2 and the modified low oval that they're currently using on their standard series are both 0.91 up at the 10th fret. They're not the same shape, but they've got the same depth.
Yeah.
But then I think most of us, I won't speak for everyone, but me and a lot of people playing a lot of open chords on acoustic, that's where it really matters. So if you're going to play that and it's 0.82, and if you think, yeah, but basically if you think I'd like it slightly thinner than that, and that's okay, the M1 will be great. And if you think that's a bit too small for you, then the N2 is 0.87. So again, not a huge difference, but
Yeah.
a difference.
But
And
the
you've got
other
that
thing
U
to
shape.
keep in mind also is that when you buy a guitar directly from us, you do have seven days to try it and make sure that it fits and is comfy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to like help people out. Like, I remember I used to ask you all the time, what's the M1 like? What's the M1 like? What's it like? Is it really thin? How does it feel? But it's really hard to convey that over a video. So I'm just trying to find as many ways as I can to like explain it. But I actually made the video and didn't post it yet because I got really kind of like I got really stressed out. I'm trying to explain this neck over a video, and it's really hard to do that. I didn't want to put the wrong thing across, so I'm probably going to redo that. But I think that's good to have some sort of reference that you can go to a store and play. So I'll probably throw that in there as well. And it's just not like I can say this is one and this is two. It's just not that easy. And it's a very personal thing as well. Like you might like thinner necks, but you might for some reason like the N2. So I don't want to like have people complain to me they got something they didn't want. So, but that's I think that's the best info I can give. The measurements and the comparison to like another brand that you can go out and play in the store. And then the other thing, it would be cool. I don't know if you guys have like any actual renders in more detail that you'd be willing to share with me. But if I could actually show like the overlay, like the N1 and the N2 as like a diagram, if you've got something like that, that'd be cool. But anyway,
we
I hope
do
that helps
have
people.
we do have the blog on our website
Yeah,
that talks
yeah,
about the neck shapes, and that's a good place to start.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I looked at that too. Kenneth says, looking forward to the Anthem retrofit video. Okay, I'll get on that soon. Cats like gig bags. They also like hard shell cases, Alan. Lee has his wife get the guitars out of the case. Okay, enough said. Uh, is the finish harder on Rainsongs than on a wooden guitar? Are they less likely to scratch?
It's a polyurethane finish, so it is a hard finish. But I know there are a lot of wood guitars out there with polyurethane as well.
Yeah, and actually, like the glossy finish like this, it is going to get scratched. It's gonna wear and get scratched over time simply because it's a gloss finish, right? Any gloss finish does. So yeah, I would say about the same as any gloss finish. And then with it being black as well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't like fingerprints and scratches, the vintage series actually might be a better option for you cosmetically than a glossy. It's like a glossy black iPhone, right? It always shows the fingerprints and the scratches quicker. It's just the
Or
way
it's
it
like a
is.
black car, that
Or
the
black
stuff
car, yeah.
shows up. But if you have a playing style that where you're doing a lot of scratching, just keep a nice coat of wax, on the
Mm.
front of the guitar, and then you're scratching the wax, and you put more
Mm.
wax on and polish it, and it's fine.
And then you also have a pick guard on the vintage series, which I
Yes.
forgot to say as well. Scott has a question. So sorry, Dave, this has become a long episode today, mostly about gig bags and hard shell cases. Yeah,
The time always goes by quickly. It's
it
fun.
does. It's 5:30 already. Yeah, we'll go through all the questions. So Scott says, how about cold temperatures? I tend to take my black ice dreadnought to gigs, and the Nashville Shorty stays in the trunk as a backup in the trunk. Any problems with leaving the infused tops in too cold of a temperature? No.
Nope. Nope. They don't care about the cold either.
Is making carbon fiber guitars more science than art? Well, there's a controversial question.
I think making guitars in general is an art.
Great answer.
Carbon fiber is the medium, but there is definitely an art to making them. You can't just say, "Oh, it's carbon fiber," so it doesn't matter how we do it. We
Mm.
have a patented process, and it took a while to get that dialed in.
The thing is, there's always that thing about wood is more romantic. It's a thing, the fact you have to take care of it. It's been used on the guitars that Bob Dylan played and Paul McCartney played. But what I'm seeing more and more lately as well is companies are not running out of wood. A lot of companies are using alternative woods anyway. Like even I was even recently, like Taylor have changed some of their models to completely different woods, and Martin have started using like the streaked ebony, and they're now using some different. They're using the Lutz spruce as well as the other spruce, the Sitka spruce. Things are changing in the industry anyway, and I think my prediction is over time, a lot of the guitar builders are going to start going towards what you guys are doing anyway. I think you're ahead of the game, really. That's what it comes down to. So
Yeah.
and that's coming from a fan of, like, the old vintage guitars and things. So I think people should bear that in mind. And it's just my opinion, but I see it happening. You see companies already starting to switch out, and I bet you all the big brands have got a division in their factory where they're looking into this, and some of them have even done it, and some of them are using like carbon fiber truss rods now, aren't they? Things like that, and bridge plates and
Carbon
things.
fiber rods in the necks and things like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think there will be a time when there's when all brands have guitars like this. So I think it's great that you're doing it now. I think it's really cool. Staley said, "Is Rainsong hiring?" That's a good question.
Not that I know of.
I know he lives out that way near you guys. Graham has I like all the stories today. Thanks for sharing them with us. I played near an open fire in an 18th century pub in Scotland last Friday. Wow, that sounds nice. Though.
Wow.
I wish I was there. Thankfully, my guitar, an Alvarez Masterworks, was fine, but I had to be really careful with where I positioned myself. Yeah, you see, you do
Yeah.
you do think about that. I played a gig a few months ago, and it was like it was a extension of the building, but there was water coming through the lights, and I'm like sitting there like, this. I mean, most importantly, that water and electricity don't mix.
Yeah,
But
they're not really friends.
I was scared that was gonna hit the gear as well, and like, yeah, it's we've all got these stories, I'm sure. Vic G just discovered. Shout out to the Rainsong website blog that has a recent article on the Rainsong neck shapes. Yes, I read that too.
Yeah, it's pretty informative.
It has a picture. I'll just show it on the screen. Hang on. The picture is very helpful. So you can see there, you've got this neck here and the N2. You can kind of see the difference there, and the fact that the N2 has more of a rounded shape with that shoulder, and then the other one has, the N1 has less shoulder.
It's a
So
little
you can
flatter.
and flatter. So that is a really helpful picture. Um, does it have the measurements? Don't
It,
think
it doesn't have
so.
like you did, you know, at the
Yeah, yeah,
different
yeah, yeah,
points
yeah,
along
yeah.
the neck.
Yeah, you see, I was looking into that as well. Some companies will have those measurements, but some companies measure at the 10th fret, some companies measure at the 12th fret, some companies measure with the strings on, the strings off. It's like it's really hard to actually.
Yeah, and are you going from the fret, or are you going from the fretboard, and then how
Yeah,
thick are the frets? And
be
so it's
careful with that. Yeah, I actually no, it was Martin that they don't include the fretboard. Like what? I'm like what? Why would you? I'm not going to buy a guitar without the fretboard on it. So why don't you include the fretboard as well? I would say you want to do it like I did. You take the strings off and measure the thickest point to the top of the fretboard itself at the first fret and the 10th fret. And the reason I did the 10th fret is at the 12th fret you start to get the join, which will start to add,
yeah.
where the neck joins the body. So that's why I did 1 and 10. I think that's what Taylor do. But I didn't see the point in them listing. I mean, someone will disagree with me, but I didn't see why they were listing the measurements without the fretboard. Anyway,
Well,
just my
but
opinion.
the depth would be to the top of the fret, really, because that's where you're,
True.
you know,
Yeah.
squeezing it. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that that's why a lot of people get lost and spend so much time in those numbers
Yeah.
when it really comes down to how does it feel in your hand.
Yeah. Oh, totally. The
They're
guitars are
great
all
as a
about,
reference.
yeah, it's all about feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, Scott said the first thing I did after buying my Rainsong is buy gig bags for them. They never see the hard shell cases unless they are sold. Wow. So you're the one that bought up all the gig bags, Scott.
When I take
Um,
mine out, they go in gig bags. So, except for the jumbo, I don't have a gig bag for the jumbos.
I love Staley's icon there. I see him post comments on other channels, and I see that every time. It's really cool. And he says Rainsong guitars are very cool, and he might come and visit you because he lives nearby. Okay, tell Dave I said hi if you go
Give me
there.
a call
Call him
because that
first.
yeah, because I work from home. I pop into the office when I need to get stuff done um, that I can't do from here.
Scott likes the Element and the Stage Pro Anthem. Gigs mostly the Element because it's in the Black Ice Dreadnought. The only problem with the Anthem is that open mics due to lower output, which can be a problem for the person running the sound. I tend to prefer the Element for that, but either one works for
That
my
makes
gig.
sense.
I don't know if I agree with that though, because at the end of the day, what if they've turned it down for another pickup and then you plug it in, or turned it up and then you plug it in? There's too much. I mean, ideally, in an ideal world for a sound person, I know Dave runs sound, but ideally, I presume it'd be great if all pickups had the same output level, right? But that's what the gain
That,
control is for, to make that adjustment
yeah,
that takes a few seconds.
and that's what the sound guy's for, just to make sure that
Yeah.
it's done right. And
Yeah, I see that a lot where people say, a lot of people have said to me, this is only coming from the fact that I review these pickups. A lot of people comment and say, well, the Anthem is lower output. I don't care. The K&K is passive and it's very high output. The Anthem is lower. Then to me, I don't care. But there was something threw that out for me. There was one amp that I tried where I think it was the Nuex amp, where it was loud enough because it's not a very loud amp anyway. It's like a practice amp. But I knew from plugging in a different pickup that it had more available volume, which wasn't being accessed because the preamp of the Anthem wasn't driving it as hard as it could do. But on every other amp or product I've ever used, there's been enough gain, either using the trim control or just the way it's gain staged. So
yeah,
I've never had that problem apart from that one thing. So yeah, I mean, more output gain is always nice to have. It's nice to have more than less. Um, but I never found it to be a problem. And then the thing is, the Anthem SL, I never put this in the video, but the Anthem SL and the Element, sorry, they have about 8 dB more of output gain. I think it's when they add, the fact on the full Anthem you can blend, and this Anthem Stage Pro, the fact that you can blend between the pickup and the mic is where they're adding another gain stage, which is taking away those 8 dB of gain. A mix stage, sorry, not gain stage. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have that flexibility. I'm not a big fan of the Element by itself. I mean, it's funny. I played it yesterday through an amp, through the Bose amp, and it actually sounded really good. But I use in-ears a lot, and I cannot stand the sound of a kind of like naked piezo in in-ears. I need to have a mic or something in there to get. So that's why I like the Anthem so much. But yeah, and then not all sound guys are created equal, especially at open mics. Well, I get that.
Yeah, I understand that.
I get that. I did a jam the other week, and I had a K&K. I've been trying the K&K lately, and different guitar. And I went to a jam, and people say to me, "You don't get time at a jam to plug in preamps and things." And I've always said, "Oh, of course you do." Well, I didn't. I get it. I went to that jam, and I plugged straight into the desk, but it wasn't even a regular input. It was like one of the last inputs that's like really low impedance, and the guitar just sounded horrible. It had enough output gain for level, but it was so thin because it was like 10 ohms or something. It sounded
it wasn't hitting any kind of preamp.
Yeah, it was going straight in basically. That sounded really, really bad. So I get it, and that's why it's good to have that thing in the side, and you can turn the bass up and turn the treble down, and all those kind of things. So, let me see here. Oh, my brother-in-law specializes in molding composites like carbon fiber. That's cool.
Yeah.
Generally in aviation field, but same medium to make guitars. Yep. Looks like Staley's going to come and see you. That's good. I look forward to that video. And then Danielle said, one problem that open mics I see is hosts going cheap where they're plugging instruments into line inputs and not a proper. That's exactly what happened. But what I went to was a jam night, and they were already using the it was more the fact it was a 4-channel mixer, and they were using those 4 channels already. So they plugged me into like at the end you get like the 5 and 6 that's good for a keyboard. But there's no preamp because the keyboard has the preamp. So there's no preamp in my guitar. And it just sounded so bad because there's no EQ, there's no preamp. You're just literally going straight in from the K&K.
Yeah, they're expecting line level input.
Yes, yeah. So if I'd had even the Sage Pro Anthem at that gig and plugged that straight in, even if it had been a little bit on the quiet side, at least it would have had that full tone, and I could have just put it up to maximum. I think it would have been fine. It had a volume.
Take a direct box with you next time.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. I feel like I do have one when I play my cover gigs because I have the TC like processor. But the thing with the thing they're saying about open mics is if the host had a DI box, that would be fine. But I think the point is they often don't, and it's good to have the preamp in. There's an argument, I guess, for having the preamp in the guitar, so you can plug straight in. And I guess Scott's thing would be, well, sometimes the Anthem doesn't have quite enough gain as I would want. I guess that's one thing about it. Yeah. But like I said, I don't think I've ever been to a thing where there wasn't enough gain. I'd like to go back to that place and try that Anthem in that mixer again, just to see like if that has enough gain in that. But he says, I'm going to send my black ice to Aaron. Yes, to have an Anthem conversion done and maybe some Evo frets installed. Do I have a plec? Okay, Scott, I look forward. I'll make the video. I'll do the Anthem conversion first of all, and I'll compare the sounds, and then I will rip out the frets using my hairdryer, and then I can plec it. I've got some sandpaper. I'll just do it myself, like the good old days.
Isn't one of your cats named Plec or something?
No, it's I do like that. I do like the idea of. I mean, the plec is the same thing, isn't it? I like the idea of a guitar that's been plecked, but at the end of the day, I also believe if the frets are done right, then you wouldn't. I mean, you don't have a plec machine, do you? I never asked you. No, so exactly I mean, at the end of
and our guys do really, really nice fret work.
Yeah, Yeah, I know. No, I thought maybe you did have a Plek machine because it's so good. Like it's the same. It's that same old thing. It's like it's nice to know it's been through a machine. Then again, people will say no. I'd rather. It's funny. We're funny as musicians, right? And guitar players. We want things handmade, but then we like, oh, has it been plecked?
Yeah, we want them handmade, but we want them perfect.
So that's a good reason to get into like the carbon thing because you've got that traditional look and everything. They're made by hand, but then you've also got the fact that they're durable. That's a nice kind of that's a nice
Yep.
thing. I like that. And Staley says Plek is a great name for a pet. It is actually, yes. Plek and
Yep.
Fret. Next cats. All right. Anyway, I'm losing my mind here. We've been online for almost 2 hours, which is great.
This is our
And
longest one yet.
it is. And I thought we were going to be talking about the guitar for 2 hours. That kind of went by pretty quickly, and we got into all the Q&A, but that's okay. Let's just summarize for people that need more information. If you want more information on the new guitar, or the new reissued guitar, I should say, then you can go to Rainsong.com, and you can check out the other guitars there as well. I recommend you reach out to Dave. You can have your own conversation with Dave about your needs and what you want to get. And look out, if you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell, because look out for my these videos I'm talking about on the guitar, especially my full review and demo. I'll do some more playing examples and things like that. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below on this video, because myself and Dave can answer them later on. And I think that's it. But I'd just like to say, congratulations. I'm glad you've got this model. I really like this model. I still want to compare the other models to it. But I just think as a straight up carbon guitar, especially at this price point you've got now, it's just great. I think it was a good move. And I look forward to seeing what other people say about them. But it's good, all good. And I'm glad we had another guy in here as well. I've got his name, sorry, but he's also got one. That was really cool. And again, share your thoughts. The comment section below is always there. So if you've played a Rainsong, if you've got one, if you get one in the future, do leave a comment and let us know any thoughts and questions there. And I'm sure Dave will be back again, because I think this is your 4th time. I'm not sure.
I think so. Yeah.
But I hope you have a great rest of the year, Dave, and I hope to see you in 2023, especially on the live stream. Are Rainsong planning anything different for 2023? Anything you can share with us?
Nothing I can share.
You saw it here first.
Yeah, you saw it here first. Dave won't tell us anything.
John said, true about the sound. That is why I take the guitar that will work. Sound man or sound person. Yeah, I mean, I think, just to finish up, I think the thing about open mic is you don't know. And I've run open mics before, but if you go to one, you don't know what mixer they're gonna have, what monitors they're gonna have, what PA they're gonna have. They might want to leave it set up from the previous guitar. They might have all the treble turned down. They might have things engaged, too much reverb. It's really out of your hands. That's one reason why I like having those controls on the side of the guitar. So at least if there's like no bottom end at all, you can add some in. I know that's not ideal at all, but at least you've got some kind of power over what they've done.
Yeah.
And you don't really even get a chance to talk to them and say, hey, do you mind like setting it flat and boosting this frequency? That's not going to happen. And actually, that's one reason why, like with the K&K, I wouldn't take that myself without my own preamp, because I'd be relying on them to EQ it how I want them to EQ it. At least with the Stage Pro stuff from LR Bags, you've kind of got a place to start from. And you're giving them a nice... at least you're giving them like a preamp signal, and you've got some control over it. I think that's important. I think it depends really on what you do, but I like doing open mics. But yeah, you definitely put your faith in their hands at sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and that's fun. That's part of the fun as well. So if you're new here, subscribe, ring the bell. Would really appreciate it. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Rainsong. Look out for more videos from me. And everyone, say thank you to Rosanna for moderating. You helped me out today.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Rosanna.
it. Yes, always. She's very, very, very helpful. I really appreciate her. And Scott Martin, good to see you again. Must talk to you soon, Scott. I'm glad that you're enjoying the Rainsong guitars. It's great that we have people here as well in the chat that are customers. I love that. I love we can just hang out and talk about the guitars and what we think and things like that. It's really, really cool. And thank you to I can't name everyone. We've had loads of people in the chat today. It's been awesome. Thanks for sharing your stories with us as well. And continue to do so in the comments. And we'll see you next time. And thank you, Dave. I'll say goodbye.
Thanks, Aaron. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye. See you next time.